All right, guys, welcome. Happy Thursday. Hope everybody is doing great. It is 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. We are going to get started in just a second. Going to give people another minute to sort of file in here, but really glad to have you all here. Let's do this. Will you go ahead and drop in the chat where you're tuning in from? Just let me know what city. I always like to get a sense of kind of who is on the call. We are coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina. All right, we got San Antonio, we got Kansas City, San Diego. Ooh, I'm jealous, Steve. San Diego, amazing. St. Louis, Atlanta, Brooklyn. Very, very cool. And do me this favor too. Let me know in the chat. Are you the owner of the law firm or are you a member of the team? So just drop it in the chat if you are the owner or if you are a team member. And I always like knowing that as well. Very cool. Marketing manager, co-owner, director of operations. Fantastic. And then last piece, what practice areas are you guys all representing? So drop your primary practice area in the chat as well. PI, we usually get a good amount of PI, so that's awesome to see. Estate planning, trust admin, probate, PI, estate. Love it, guys. Love it. Well, listen, really excited to have you all here. This is a fun topic. We are here today talking about smart marketing, specifically for law firms that are kind of under that $1 million revenue threshold. And listen, there's not like a magic button or like there's not like a metaphysical change that happens the minute you go from like 999,000 up to $1 million, right? But so there's obviously kind of general best practices, but the reality is there is a big difference between how a smaller law firm should market themselves versus a large law firm. And we're going to unpack that today. And I think that one of the sort of big mistakes that a lot of small law firms make that unfortunately sets them back a little bit is they see what some of the bigger firms in their market are doing. And they think to themselves, well, if it's working for them, it should work for me. And like, I get it. Like, that makes logical sense. The problem is sometimes they follow the parts that they can see without realizing all of the back end systems and structure that are in place, and they end up setting themselves back. So most small firms need to market themselves differently than larger firms, and that's what we're diving into today. This is obviously focused on firms that are under that $1 million threshold, and we're going to kind of talk about what that looks like. So super excited to have you guys here. In terms of our agenda, here is what we're going to cover. So we are going to start by talking about why running paid ads and why going too heavily into SEO too early usually backfires. Okay, there are some very specific reasons, very predictable reasons why this often backfires. Then we're going to talk about why referrals and word of mouth marketing matter for firms at every size. Okay, we speak to a lot of law firms that have built their business around referrals, and that's amazing. And the conversation they want to have is now, how do I move past that? And what unfortunately happens sometimes is moving past means dropping it, right? And you never want to lose that foundation of referrals and word of mouth marketing. We're going to kind of talk about why and how to make that happen. The cool thing about referral generation is it really is more science than art. And so we're going to talk about how to generate more referrals. And we're going to break down 4 marketing systems that I believe that every single law firm should have in place, no matter where you are in the growth spectrum, plus we'll call it a secret weapon, right, that most law firms aren't using, that is low cost and super, super valuable. As you guys know, if you've been to one of our webinars in the past, we try to keep these interactive, conversational. If you've got questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We will either answer them as we go, or in some cases, we may circle back and answer them at the end. Or if I know I'm about to address the question on the next slide, I may tell you to just hold on. But feel free to just drop questions in the chat. So listen, excited to dive into this. If you guys are excited to be here, hit 1, drop it in the chat. You're excited to learn about smart marketing for law firms that are under that $1 million threshold. And let's get into this. But before we do that, really honored today to have Dylan Stebbins with us again. For those of you that don't know me, by the way, my name is Danny Decker. I am co-founder, partner here at Spotlight Marketing and Branding, and Dylan is our director of operations, which means he is kind of the master behind the scenes, leading our team, doing some really great work. So, Dylan, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people who may not know you yet.
Yeah. Thank you, Danny. As Danny mentioned, I am the director of ops here at Spotlight Branding, Spotlight Marketing and Branding, which means a lot of times, really all the time, I am focused on kind of the execution of what we do. Everything that Danny's going to talk about today, everything our sales team talks about with potential clients and even current clients. I am leading the team that executes that vision and delivers on the promises being made. Love being a part of these just because I love connecting with people to talk about the different ways we're executing. I mean, we execute differently depending on the client. We are not a one size fits all. We have different ways of doing marketing for different people in different markets.
Love it. Cool. All right. So let's start here. Why scaling lead gen too soon usually backfires. And like I said, the reason this happens is because a lot of smaller law firms look around in their market and they see some bigger competition doing well, and they say, I need to do what they're doing. Again, makes perfect sense. The problem is there's a lot happening behind the scenes that you probably aren't aware of until you discover it the hard way. And so let's kind of break that down. And then don't worry, we're going to talk about what to do instead. The first thing, and I know, Dylan, this is something you've got a lot of insight into as well. The first thing to understand is that if you start scaling your lead gen too early, what seems like it's going to be a really great outcome actually turns into a nightmare. And here's what I mean by that. We often run lead gen campaigns for clients that don't just generate, one or two leads a week, but we have clients who are getting hundreds of leads every single month. And that sounds like a great thing until you realize what that volume actually looks like and how overwhelming it can be to manage without systems and processes in place. If you don't have somebody who is on top of this, right, a member of your team who their number one job is managing inbound leads, then at best you are getting a suboptimal return on investment of your lead gen, and at worst you're getting no return because the reality is leads have to be managed. There is follow up that has to happen. The statistics show that like if you wait more than 5 minutes to get back to a lead that comes in, a cold lead, right, a non-referred lead, if you wait more than 5 minutes, 5 minutes, your chances of converting them drops like by more than 50%. And if you wait more than 60 minutes, it drops big time again. And this means speed matters. And the only way you're going to have, the ability to consistently hit those goals is if you have somebody where this is their job. What we see, and Dylan, I'll invite you to comment on this, if this is something you want to add to, but what we see a lot is with smaller firms, there will be the person who's responsible for intake may be, the office administrator or secretary or a paralegal who has like 5 or 6 other really important jobs that they need to do kind of every single day. And managing leads becomes a distraction and frankly a pain in the butt. And it's something they don't want to do. And so what ends up happening is there is no lead follow up, or, it happens sporadically at best. And it's frustrating to your paralegal or your marketing manager or whoever's job it is. And you don't get a return on your investment because these leads aren't being converted. I mean, Dylan, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and you'll notice kind of what like if you look at this slide, obviously what we're talking about is we are talking about the way that smaller firms are marketing, but this applies universally. Like there is a language here that says lead flow for small firms can be overwhelming because it's universally true. And as we've seen from clients, we've had clients, small, big, medium, come to us and say, "Hey, I love the lead gen services that we're doing, but what am I supposed to do with this? I get these emails, I get a dozen of these a day, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that." With big firms, It's so easy because our answer is, hey, well, let's get you a lead flow that makes sense. Let's get you systems and processes in place. For big firms, that's easy. It's like, okay, I can afford to hire someone. I can afford to maybe hire a couple people. I can maybe refocus some of the hours that some of our current team is spending to do to focus on leads that are coming in. That's great. They convert those leads. A month or two later, we're talking to them and like, oh yeah, we're flying high. These leads are great. Small firms don't have that flexibility. They don't have that ability to, on a dime, hire, 1 to 3 people to focus on this. They don't have the staff in place to say, hey, Danny, I'm going to go ahead and take half your hours away from this so you can focus on that. They don't have that flexibility. So it's important to just kind of understand where you're at, and how you approach, changes that are going to be necessary if you do attempt this.
Yeah, and part of this is honestly, folks in the marketing world probably share some blame in this, right? Or the majority of the blame. Because often when a marketing agency is talking about lead generation, it's talked about as like this magic silver bullet where what's going to happen is lead after lead after lead is going to be delivered on like a silver platter, and all you're going to have to do is send them your intake agreement, and they're going to sign it, and they're good to go. And the reality is that's not how it works the majority of the time. Will you get some situations like that? Yeah, you will. But for every one of those, you're probably going to get 4 or 5 that aren't a great fit, and then you're gonna do a couple more that need some conversation and have some questions, and just are frankly going to be a little bit needy before they actually sign up. And so again, we've had scenarios of I've learned this one the hard way, frankly, where we will have a campaign that's killing it, right? I'm thinking of, we were working with a law firm early on when we got into to offering Facebook ads, and you know, his firm was like a case study success story for us because we were generating like 160 leads a month, and they were really good. Um, and after about a month, he asked to pause the service because it was too overwhelming to keep up with, and he didn't have an infrastructure in place. And fortunately, later on, he kind of did get that infrastructure in place, and we were able to then turn the campaigns back on now that there was a system in place. But listen, the story here is just simple. The bottom line is simple. Don't jump too quickly into lead gen. You need to be sure you have systems in place. You need to have a dedicated email intake team in place. And last piece here is lead gen campaigns do take some time and some budget to optimize, right? This webinar is not a deep dive into Facebook ads or Google ads. We have done those in the past. We'll do them in the future. But a big part of success with that type of advertising is a lot of testing, right? There are so many different variables we test. We test the audience that we're targeting. How are we identifying them? Who are they? What is the message? What creative is going to work best? Are we using a landing page versus a Facebook form versus SMS, right? Like what there are just so many things that need to be tested, and it takes time to dial that stuff in. There's really not a one size fits all solution that works for every firm out of the box. And what that means is it can easily be 90 days before a campaign really gets dialed in. And for a smaller firm, you may not have 90 days of, budget that you can afford to invest in testing and trial and error, right? So once again, huge fan of these things. We're huge fans of lead generation, and we do a lot of it. But if you don't have the budget and you don't have the infrastructure, you don't want to jump into it too quickly. Does that make sense? Go ahead and give me a thumbs up, or type something in the comments. Just let me know that this is making sense. I want to be sure this is landing with everybody. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. But bottom line, you don't want to jump into lead gen too soon. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to, sorry, Danny, to stop your flow a little bit. I want to point out like a hidden cost because this is a question I've gotten before. We've had clients say like, well, what's the big deal if I got 20 great leads and I converted 2 of them? I reached out to 4 of them and converted 2 of them. Your reputation ultimately is a part of this too. You don't want to become known as the company that doesn't respond. You don't want to become known as the law firm that, oh yeah, I reached out to them about my case and I never heard back. Sure, yes. If you can have 20 good leads and you can convert 2 of them, that could be a successful, month, quarter, whatever it may be for your law firm. but eventually you become known as someone who just doesn't respond. Every time someone fills out a contact form, time someone responds to one of your ads, you do want to respond to them one way or the other. And if you don't have the capacity to do that, eventually you're going to get fewer of those leads because people are going to be like, oh, they're going to start talking. Word of mouth is always a factor. And eventually the word is going to get out there that, hey, Danny Decker Law Firm hasn't responded to 99% of the leads they're getting. And so therefore, what's the point? And then those ads are going to work a lot
Yeah.
less. So there are
Love it.
some hidden costs to this as well to keep in mind.
No, that's a great point, Dylan. The bottom line is you don't need to rush it. We have plenty of clients, and I know plenty of law firms who have grown to and beyond the $1 million mark in terms of revenue without running paid ads. And so that's what we're going to get into today is kind of what you should do instead. Quick recap here before you dive into lead gen. And again, typically we see around the seven-figure mark is when these ingredients start to come into place. But as a general rule, I want you to have an intake team member who their number one job is lead follow up. Doesn't have to be their only job, but it needs to be their primary job. And the reason why that's really important is because if it's not their primary job, it's going to be pushed to the bottom of their priority list. And as we've already talked about, speed matters. So it's completely fine to have a intake or a member of your sales team who does other things when they are not responding to leads. I do not recommend having a paralegal or an office administrator who does other things and only responds to those leads when they have time. May sound like a semantic difference, but I'm telling you from, working with many, many law firms, it matters. You want to have someone on your team whose top priority is lead follow-up. Second is you probably should have a CRM. At the very least, you need to have an organized spreadsheet to keep track of these leads. You are spending money to generate leads. You need to be saving their information in an organized fashion so that you can follow up with them sometimes repeatedly. Yes, Mary Beth, I don't recommend that you as the marketing manager should add that to your plate. That's kind of my point. If it's not your number one job, it's not going to be something you're going to want to do. Like you are going to have 4 or 5 other projects every single day that feel and are, frankly, more fun than following up with leads. And so you're not going to get to the lead follow up, right? It's just kind of how it works. So number 2 is having that CRM or at least some level of organization in place. And then 3 is systems and automations in place to nurture leads. One of the things we know from lots of experience is that some leads convert immediately. Most of them take time and take nurture. And so if you don't have systems to nurture these leads, as well as automations to get back to them quickly, if they contact your firm in the middle of the night when nobody's working, you are missing out. So you need to have these automations in place before you start running lead gen. Here's the good news. Referrals and word of mouth recommendations are the best leads for law firms at every size. I don't care if you are a $10 million law firm or a $100,000 a year revenue law firm. The best clients are going to come to you through referrals and word of mouth recommendations. Okay. Seen it over and over again. You guys probably know this intuitively, but I'm going to throw a few reasons why this is the case. Okay. First thing, and all this data that I'm sharing either came from a recent Clio Trends report or a Wharton School of Business study done in the last year or so. 62% of legal customers, right? So somebody that is looking for a lawyer, start by asking family, friend, colleagues for a referral. People prefer to find a lawyer through referral if possible. Hiring a lawyer is intimidating. It's a relatively expensive proposition. It's usually a pretty high stakes issue, right? And so people feel most comfortable when someone they know and trust vouches for them. The majority of legal customers ask for a referral before they do anything else, including going to Google. Law firms report, and I imagine you guys can confirm this through experience, that people who have been referred to you are just generally easier to work with. They are more likely to trust you right off the bat. They are generally less price sensitive. And again, this is just because somebody that they trust has vouched for you, right? They have put their personal credibility to bat for you. And so clients who come to you through referral are better clients more often than not. This is a really interesting one. Referrals convert at a higher rate than other channels. I have been behind the scenes and seen the data. A lot of law firms, and this is a little more anecdotal, but there's research that backs this up too. I will typically see referred leads closing at least 60%, if not more. 65% is pretty common versus other lead channels, all other sources, so like SEO, Google, direct mail, whatever else you're doing, is a lot lower, typically like 15 to 20%. Okay. Close rate is much higher for a referral, which means, your cost of acquisition for a client that comes to you through a referral is much lower. Okay. Much lower. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't use other marketing channels, right? Because we understand that referrals aren't necessarily scalable. But you always want to do everything you can to generate referrals because they close at a higher rate. And last one, and maybe my favorite, if someone is referred to your law firm, they are 4 times more likely to make referrals themselves, right? So they're referred to you and they are 4 times more likely to refer you to someone else than if they came to you through any other channel. So you create this like flywheel of referrals, right? You generate some referrals, they go, tell their family and friends, and it's a beautiful thing. Dylan, any thoughts or anything to add on this conversation?
No, honestly, just wanted to add like referrals are such a big deal for us, like internally and what we do, like because of these numbers, because we know they convert at a much higher rate, because we know that they're normally better to work with, because we know that they're also more likely to refer themselves. Whenever we get a referral from a client, it's not like that client's team is the only people that know. We announce it to everyone and we celebrate it and we're excited, which is funny because sure, no money has been made yet. When we got that referral, we haven't made a dime of money. That person could sign up for our services. They could not. Obviously, there is no 100% guarantee on conversions, but we celebrate it. I encourage you guys to do the same thing. It also gives us an opportunity as a team to be like, all right, everyone that's worked with that client in the past, what did we do that really worked that most likely sold them on this new person? Because that gives us some insight into how we can approach that follow-up process and all that as well. But referrals are a celebratory moment for us, and I think they should be the same for all of our clients as well.
Yeah. And there's a reason why, I'm saying here it should be your number one priority. I get it, it's not sexy. When you think about, marketing campaigns and AI and technology, right? There are all of these things that maybe sound a little more sexy than generating referrals, but this just works. Okay. This is a formula that works and helps law firms grow. And what that means is smart digital marketing should not replace referral marketing. Smart digital marketing should help you drive more referrals. And that is how we have structured our services at Spotlight Marketing and Branding. We base our marketing packages on the size and the budget of the law firms that we work with. And so for these firms that are, lower, that are kind of under that $1 million threshold, our marketing service is focused on helping to generate more referrals. And we'll talk about what that looks like. But the reason I break this down by itself is because a lot of people think that you have to choose one or the other. They think that there's referral marketing and digital marketing, and at best they are in silos separate from each other, and at worst you have to choose one or the other, and that's just not the case. Smart digital marketing is going to help you generate more referrals. So please, anytime someone makes it seem like you have to choose between referral marketing and digital marketing, tell them it's not true. Okay? Good, effective, smart digital marketing is going to help you generate more referrals. Make sense? Everybody with me? Give me a thumbs up. I want to know that, you're here, you're awake, you can hear me, the chat's working. So chime in, let me know if this makes sense. Good. Thanks, Annie. Thanks, Mary Beth. All right. So 2 ingredients to generate a referral. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Patricia. Thank you guys. Perfect. Always like to know that this is making sense and you guys are with us. So here's the fun thing. Referrals don't just happen in a vacuum. A lot of the law firms that we talk to think that There's nothing they value referrals. Enjoy getting referrals, but they don't necessarily feel like they have much control over referrals. And what I'm telling you today is that it's more science than art. It is more science than magic. There's really just two ingredients that have to be in place in order to generate referrals. Okay? The first is they have to want to refer to you, right? You for someone to make a referral to you, they need to like you, they need to trust you, they need to want to make a referral. If they don't, then you're kind of screwed, right? And so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, how to make them want to refer to you, because this really more than anything else kind of comes down to the experience they have with your law firm. But there are a few, high level takeaways that like it's good to refresh on this. And the first is you need to do good work, right? That's sort of the pay to play. Like if you want referrals, you need to do good work. I have no doubt that all of you who are here do good work, right? You've built successful law firms, you've built a reputation in large part because you do good work for your clients, okay? Basic, but I think, but it is really important, okay? Second is the experience, right? And this is actually, for a lot of people, more important, right? Most clients, for better or for worse, don't actually really have the ability to like gauge the quality of your work, right? It's not like, even for myself and Dylan, maybe for you too, like we work with lawyers a lot. We have a lot more interaction with lawyers than most members of the public. But like I couldn't tell you at a quick glance if I'm looking at at some documents or whatever, a work product, I couldn't really tell you like this work is great and this work is, subpar. Like most of us don't have the ability to do that. And most of your clients don't either. And so experience really matters. It's the experience you're creating for them, even more so than the quality of the work. I think of a couple of things that really go into that. And then Dylan, I'd love if you have anything to add to this as well. But the first is that you're setting the right expectations up front. This is hard. Marketing and sales have to, this is something, in the marketing and sales world, we really have to stay disciplined on because it's very tempting. And when your job is to go find more clients, you want to say whatever you have to say to get somebody to sign up. The problem is if you promise somebody, we're going to get these charges dismissed, we're going to win this court battle. We're gonna get you through probate in 90 days or whatever. If you make promises that you can't keep, you unfortunately are setting yourself up for unhappy clients, right? And that creates all sorts of issues. So managing expectations accurately up front. And last piece here is, and this is the number one complaint that most law firm clients have about their law firm is a lack of communication. It's not actually that they're unhappy with the work. It's not that they're unhappy with the result. It's just that lots of times there can be long stretches where there is no communication with the client. So one of the things I encourage each of you to do is make sure your team is sending client updates at least once a week, okay? Once a week, send a quick update, even if all there is to say is like, hey, client, just wanted to check in with you and let you know that we're still waiting for the department of whatever to get back to us. We hope that we'll hear from them in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, rest easy. Everything is fine. Your case, your matter is moving forward. Don't worry, we'll keep you posted, right? That level of communication, even when there's nothing really to say, is really, really valuable.
Mhm. Yeah, we've had plenty of clients express this kind of concern, and we've actually even had clients that asked us to write content centered around what your lawyer is doing when they're not talking to you, when they're not sitting across the table from you, when they're not, in the courtroom with you. We've had lawyers tell us that for every 1 hour in the courtroom, there's 10 hours of work outside of the courtroom. I'm sure different law firms have different variations of that number. But we've always said like, yeah, you should communicate what's going on because a lot of people they get to, they hire an hourly lawyer and they get to the end and their bills are thousands of dollars and they're like, wait a minute, our court appearances were, 8 hours total. What is all this work for? Well, it's like, well, what about the research? What about, hey, I reached out to an expert in this field and we're waiting for them to get back to us about what they can provide to the case. All of that matters. And it all kind of goes into that great experience that he mentioned above. Your clients are going to be more likely to refer you to other people when they're like, hey, not only did Danny Ducker get me results, but I like really enjoyed the communication. I enjoyed the process. I could tell they were very thoughtful and intentional in what they were doing. And so I never felt like I was in the dark and I got the results that I was hoping for.
Love it. So bottom line, they need to want to refer to you. If they don't want to, then you're out of luck. Second, and this is really where your marketing comes into play, is in order to generate a referral, your referral source needs to have the opportunity, and maybe more importantly, they need to recognize a referral opportunity when it crosses their path. Okay. And there's a few things that you need to do to make this happen. The first is understand that most people, your clients, your family, your friends, potential referral sources, don't understand what you do. Okay. Um, it's hard to like get your head around that sometimes. And I have the same, like I have listen, when I am, having Christmas dinner and my parents or my brothers ask me how business is going, like I've been doing this for 15 years and they still don't get it. Okay. And marketing is not that complicated. It sometimes blows my mind, honestly, how hard it is for people to understand, what somebody in another field does. Right. And so listen, in the legal space, there's even tougher. Right? Most people don't understand what you do. They don't understand what you do. And so one of the big jobs of your marketing is to be really clear about what that is. This is one reason why, and Dylan, feel free to speak to this if you see it any differently. But from my perspective, it's really valuable if you can narrow the focus of your law firm into kind of a single practice area, or at least a group of like related practice areas, right? It just becomes easier for people to understand what you do. Your website is one piece of that. I just threw this up here as an example, but the tagline here, this is a client of ours helping entrepreneurs start, grow, protect their businesses. It's like boom, simple, clear statement, makes it clear who they work with, what they do. You need this type of repetition and simplicity kind of over and over and over again in order to make sure that it sinks in. So that's one. But then two is understanding it's not enough to just have that conversation once, right? People are forgetful. We are always bombarded with all kinds of information. There's probably going to be 30 notifications waiting for me on my phone as soon as we're done with this webinar. Like it's hard to retain top of mind awareness. And so you need systems, your law firm needs systems that are going to keep you top of mind and constantly reminding your referral sources that you're here, you're doing good work, and this is what a good referral looks like.
Yeah, in kind of the whole messaging around being clear about what you do is so important because I think of the example. I recently hired someone to repaint our bedroom when we bought a house. And then one of my friends was looking for someone to restain their cabinets. And the person's business card literally said on it like the services that he had when he gave it to me. He's like, hey, you ever need another, more work? Send it my way. And that business card, I remembered when my friend said he was getting that done. I'm like, oh wait, this guy did awesome work for us. And I did communicate like, hey, he didn't restain our cabinets, but he did an incredible job in the bedroom with the painting the walls. And now maybe he can do that for you. And he ended up doing great work. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that like, hey, a referral not, isn't necessarily going to be I did a personal injury case for them and therefore they referred a personal injury client to me. They may refer someone to you that needs something else that you do. But as long as you're clear about that. And then Danny, you mentioned kind of focusing what you do. it, I do agree that yeah, the better the focus, the more you can focus your marketing, the better focus within the practice areas that you offer, the better your marketing can zero in on those. If you do a wide range of services, because we have plenty of clients that do that, I would just make it clear, be transparent. Is it like with your about pages? What services are the different lawyers on your about pages doing? Because in those cases, they might have 10 different practice areas and in 10 different attorneys where one or two of them is doing each practice area. That's important to communicate because then they don't end up thinking, all right, there's one lawyer that does 10 different practices. He must be a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. And then people might look for someone else that actually focuses and specializes more in what they're looking for. So it's not a bad thing to have a wide range. It's just you need to be very clear what that experience is going to look like and who they're working with those practices as well.
Yeah, love it. All right, so give me some feedback, guys. Here's what I would love your honest audit of your own marketing. Just give me a yes or no to this. Do you feel like your marketing right now, and when I say your marketing, I'm talking about your website, your social media, do you feel like it makes it clear? Like, could somebody land on your website? If we were to hop on your website, is it clear with just a couple of seconds, kind of exactly what you do and who you serve? Or would it take me some work to figure it out? I'd love to just kind of hear what is your intuitive feeling? Do you feel like your marketing is actively, clearly communicating this, or is this an area that could use some improvement? Want to see some feedback, guys? This is you know the saying, right? Ideas don't mean anything unless you act on them. So I want to know that this makes sense, and frankly, I hope that you spot some opportunities for improvement, right? Because that's really great news because it means you can walk away with something that's gonna make your marketing better. So cool. Needs some improvement. Clear but could get better. Pretty clear. Good. Awesome. Just understand this is something that is really foundationally important. All the bells and whistles, all the SEO, all of the ads, all of the fancy stuff doesn't really matter if you don't have a clear message that helps clients understand and referral sources understand who you are and what you do. Awesome. Great feedback here so far, guys. All right. So, Dylan, let's get into some of the tools that can make this happen. This is the fun part. And thanks for the feedback, Mary Beth, Annie, Patricia, Brett. Great. Awesome. I'm glad you guys are internalizing this and kind of coming away with some ideas here. So, number one, and listen, I've said this before, if I could only have one single marketing tool that I had to use for the whole rest of my career, it would be email marketing and email newsletter specifically. Okay. Not sexy, not exciting, so important. We are huge advocates, and I firmly believe that every single law firm should have an email newsletter that goes out at least once a month to their entire list, their clients, their former clients, colleagues, anybody and everybody who is potentially in position to refer business to you should be getting an email newsletter at least once per month. Huge, huge deal. Really not that hard to execute. Here's a couple things you want to think about. Your email newsletter, first and foremost, should remind them what you do and who you help. Okay. And that magic statement I showed you on a website earlier, we help entrepreneurs, build, protect, and grow their businesses. A great example. If you've got a tagline or a headline or a slogan that really sums up the essence of what you do, who you serve, that's the type of thing you want to be front and center. The idea here is even if they don't read the whole newsletter, even if they just skim it, even if they don't even open it, just the fact that they see your name, see your subject line, get a quick reminder who you are, what you do, really matters. I mean, Dylan, we have clients. I've heard this multiple times, especially clients with larger email lists that will basically tell us that newsletter day, right? The 15th of the month or whatever day it is that their newsletter goes out, they can almost always count on a referral or two trickling in. And it's just someone replying to the newsletter and saying, hey, my friend Stacy could really use your services. Because it's just a touch point and it just reminds people what you do and who you serve.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter if the people that are subscribed to your newsletter are deleting 10 in a row. If the 11th time is the time that they see something that's like, oh, crap, Danny needed that. Danny was looking for someone that does that. Danny wanted to get this addressed in his space. They might forward it to someone that they know that needs it. They might just take a screenshot, share it that way. There's a bunch of different ways to kind of communicate that. But you're not necessarily hoping that every single time you send an email, that every single person that gets that email is going to open it and read every word. A strong subject line, as Danny mentioned, matters because they might not go in there and scroll the whole thing. But if that subject line captures, a lot of times in our case, we're using the latest blog as guidance for our subjects. As long as that addresses something that you guys do in some way who you do it for, it's a constant reminder every month. And then eventually, when they get to the point where someone they know or even themselves need the services, they're going to think back like, oh, I keep seeing this. Like I saw this somewhere. I saw somewhere that someone does this that I need, they're going to end up eventually circling back and realizing that you guys were the ones that put it on their plate and now they're ready to eat.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. So, quick poll for those of you that are here. Just give me a yes or a no in the comments if you have a regular email newsletter. Do you have an email newsletter that is going out at least once per month? Always curious. Just a yes or no is totally fine. Um, Dylan, let's talk about tools, right? Obviously, this is something we do for our clients, but in full
Yeah.
transparency, like this is something you can do on your own if you want to.
Mhm.
Let's tell people just some of the basic tools, like what platform, do you recommend for someone to build an email newsletter in?
Yeah, right now we primarily work through Mailchimp with our newsletters. It's pretty intuitive. It's one of the, if not the most recognized email newsletter service out there. We do have a couple other odds and ends ones. Like we are flexible. If a client's like, "Hey, my newsletter was previously built on this platform, and we don't want to leave that platform," we will manage on others. But that's all. There are a ton of resources. We actually are a Mailchimp partner, and we work with them and talk to them about their resources that they have available to clients, and it's unbelievable. I mean, this is something that, like, yes, you could always attempt to do it on your own. Now, obviously, there are the design elements, there are the ideas of how do I structure different sections, how do I include different things. Mailchimp has resources to walk you through that stuff as well. So highly recommend just kind of taking some time.
Yeah,
If you're looking to do it yourself, I highly recommend doing a lot of education before you dive in because you don't want to end up sending a couple sloppy newsletters and having a bunch of people jump off the list sooner rather than later. Be ready and know what you're doing as you kind of go into it.
yeah.
But there are
So
definitely a lot of resources out there.
yeah, love it. Mailchimp is great. There are others. For those of you that said no, this is a service that we offer. Mike, if you don't mind, drop a link in the comments here. We do built for you email newsletters for law firms. We do hundreds of them every single month. I'm happy to have a call and kind of walk you through what that looks like. Patricia, yeah, the LinkedIn newsletter like is an awesome functionality. I actually am meaning to play with that myself.
Mhm.
It's fantastic. I would not use that as a replacement of a full-on email newsletter, right? Because you probably have a lot of contacts who aren't on LinkedIn. And I believe LinkedIn actually pushes it out as an email. And again, full disclosure, I haven't fully dove into this, but I don't think if somebody's not a LinkedIn member, I don't think they are included. And so, you're obviously leaving some people on off the table if you only do a LinkedIn newsletter. So, highly recommend email newsletter. Again, you can do this. This is also something we can do if you want to have a call and our team can kind of show you what our approach looks like. We've got a formula for this. Would love to talk to you about it. Bottom line, you need to have an email newsletter. Tool number two is your blog. We highly recommend, and I know, listen, blogs aren't exactly sexy. This has been around for a while, but these are fundamentals that really work. We highly recommend a blog that you are publishing content on at least once a month, if not more frequently. Okay, this is something we do for our clients. And here's the thing, it's not hard to kind of figure out what the content should be. We have a simple formula. We help you answer the questions that your potential new clients are asking. Okay. We're not getting into SEO in this conversation. We're not going to get into like AI optimization, but I will just tell you the way to get found on Google, the way to get found on ChatGPT when someone is looking for a lawyer is to create content that answers the questions that potential clients are asking. We have tools, we have a process to sort of uncover what those questions are, depending on your practice area. But also, you probably know it because every time you sit down with a new client and you have your initial consultation, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 questions that you get over and over again. Guess what? Every one of those topics, every one of those questions would be a great topic for a blog. That blog goes on your website. It's a couple hundred words. You always include a call to action, right? Make it super easy for somebody who is reading your blog to then take that next step, schedule a consultation or send the blog to a friend, right? But putting fresh content on your website is valuable for a whole bunch of reasons, but it's also a really great reminder of kind of what you do, who you serve, and it creates an asset that's really easy for someone to share and make a referral.
Yeah, your blog is also just, it's a tool that can reach so many different areas of your marketing. Obviously, like we are focusing on one specific area here. Danny mentioned we don't want to get into the AI optimization. That's a bonus of it. But in when we say like you should have most of your blogs, publishing a monthly blog obviously means I'm gonna have at least 12 a year, maybe more. So I have time to diversify what I'm talking about. Most of it should focus on what you do and who you do it for. That is the bread and butter. That is the information that most people are coming to your website to look for. But you might also want to do some that are like, how are we doing these things? How do we go about doing what we do? It can also be used as a way to condition some of your potential new clients. Is you can say, hey, maybe every time we get a call or every time we get a new client, we're sitting down with them and they ask us like, I don't know what even to do. Like, I don't know what documentation I need, whatever. You can then use the blog as a way to condition future clients to say, hey, here are the 10 documents you should keep on hand and bring with you to your first meeting with a lawyer. That's been a successful one for us because then people are like, man, all of a sudden my clients know what to do and I'm wasting a lot less of their time and money on some admin stuff, whereas I can focus on the actual execution of their legal needs. So your blog is it's a really a far-reaching marketing tool to
Yeah.
provide information about who you are, what you do, how you do it, and all that. So
Yeah.
highly recommend taking advantage.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, just out of curiosity, how many of you have a blog and are you publishing content at least once a month? Just give me a quick yes if yes, you've got a blog and you're publishing at least once a month, or if not, let us know that too. Always just curious. One thing I want to share here at Spotlight, we are big believers in creating blog content that humans actually want to read. Okay. There are a lot of SEO oriented companies that create blog content that honestly no human being really wants to read, right? And it's just stuffed full of keywords. And listen, there's a time and place for creating that type of content. But the best content is content that is genuinely helpful to an actual human. Okay, that's going to help you rank better on AI platforms. It's probably going to help you rank better on the search engines too, if I'm being honest. But it's certainly going to help you create better content that's going to help be an asset to help you get more referrals. So blogging, super foundational, not sexy. I get it, but really important. Again, something we do if you do want to have a conversation and hear about kind of how our service works. We have a pretty cool process where you actually have a conversation with our writing team. They're sitting on the other side of this wall right now. We actually have a fully in-house US based amazing copywriting team. And it's frankly more affordable than you may think. We talked to a lot of potential new clients who are kind of surprised by how affordable our services are. So Mike, drop that link in the chat in case anybody wants to have a call and hear about our blogging and our newsletter. But bottom line, that is second tool is your blog. All right. Third, maybe I'm not gonna say most important. I'm always gonna go with email newsletter is like the number one, but the way SEO and social media and AI platforms are progressing, like video is just more important each and every day. So we are big proponents of video, not necessarily like super high quality, $15,000 cinematic productions, although there is a time and place for that. But what I'm really talking about here are simple videos that are structured as FAQ answers, right? So again, just you answering the questions that your clients are asking. Here's how I would go about it. And yes, we do this for our clients, and I'll tell you what the exact process is. We create a list of 8, 10, 12, depending on how many videos. What are the questions that your clients are asking? And then we send a videographer out to your office, and one by one you just answer. You look at the camera, you answer the questions. And it's okay if you stutter a little bit. It's okay if you stumble over your words. In some ways it's even better, right? Because we want you to be human and approachable and not intimidating. Most people are intimidated when they think about hiring a lawyer. So this doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to read off a teleprompter. You just want to answer the questions that your potential clients are asking. This is an awesome tool for multiple reasons. One big one is that it makes you seem like a real person. Okay, it makes you feel human. Again, people are intimidated when it comes to hiring a lawyer. It makes you feel like a real person. It really gives you the opportunity to like feel like you've created a relationship with somebody before you even meet them. We have clients who will tell us that since they started publishing regular video FAQs, they will be at the supermarket, at the gym, and somebody will come up to them and be like, I know you. You're the attorney that I see on YouTube all the time, right? This stuff really, really works. Video FAQs, super valuable. Also, very valuable in terms of getting your website found through Google, ChatGPT, things like that.
Yeah, and the value of these has gone up recently. Like, and I won't say that the value ever went down. It wasn't like the value ever disappeared. It was just there were other efforts that obviously kind of became the shiny new toy, as we talked about earlier, that people wanted to focus on. Video has always been so important in your marketing. Similar to blogs, it's an opportunity to kind of diversify the topics you're covering. But also you can use them everywhere. You can use them in your newsletter. You can use them on social media. They don't just have to live on your website forever. And another kind of tool tip here for you guys is if you do have video FAQ content currently, or you're in the process of producing it, we also recommend that you transcribe the answers on your webpage as well. That's just kind of an added bonus of this. It's a good way to get even more value out of content you've already produced. It's something that we're working on right now with our clients that have video services. Is we're going back and transcribing some of their videos. Just another way to add value to what you've already done. But yeah, no, I agree with everything Danny said. Like I think humanizing yourself, giving them an opportunity to see and hear the person that they would actually be interacting with, should they hire your law firm, is very invaluable as a tool in your marketing.
Love it. So that's number three, guys. Video FAQs, super important. So number one, email newsletter. Number two, blog. Number three, video FAQs. And then that brings us to number four, which is organic social media. Okay. And there are many different ways to use social media, right? And we are not, our goal is not necessarily to help law firms go viral. Okay. We're not, that's not our goal. I would argue that's not what most law firms need. Of course, if you can go viral, that's fun. That's awesome. That can sometimes be really great. We use social media to create touch points with your network, with your community, to get your content published and out there and seen. And frankly, there is just a level of credibility that is created by having an active social media presence, right? In 2025, if somebody's considering hiring your law firm, they're probably doing research. Maybe they were referred to you, then they went to your website, then they want to see, are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Facebook? And frankly, it's just a bad look not to be there, right? So I hate to be so like kind of boring about it, but like it really is important to just have a foundational social media presence that is active and shows people that like, yes, you're a real business. Yes, you're active. Yes, you're plugged in. It's just really important. I mean, Dylan, do you see it any differently?
No, definitely not. I think there's the credibility piece is so important because if I go out and I'm looking for a law firm, I'm looking for, any service really, and I see that they have social media and they're posting regularly, I'm like, man, that they're clearly confident in what they do. They're so confident in what they do that they're putting themselves out there consistently. They're talking about what they do. They're making claims online every single day or close to every single day, or maybe it is just once or twice a week even. But seeing that recent organic content on social media really builds confidence in the for the consumer to say like, all right, these people are confident in what they do. They're willing to put themselves out there. So clearly there's something here for me to follow up on, and I highly recommend getting this. And as number two mentions here, good opportunity for you to share your blog content, share your video content, share testimonials. There's when we work with clients, we don't really put a ton of limits on the type of content that we'll post on social media as long as we believe that it adds value. And sometimes that can be as simple as a quote. Sometimes that can be as simple as a holiday. I know Veterans Day is coming up, and it's, hey, we have, we're proud to support American veterans. That messaging also hits home for people. So it's not necessarily just about saying, hey, we are a personal injury attorney that can help you after your car accident. It's also just the humanization piece of like, hey, we're a part of the community. We celebrate holidays just the rest as everyone else. We're inspired by these quotes just the same as everyone else. Social media is really an opportunity for you to spread your wings a little bit and get creative. And it's a lot of fun for us to work with our clients and personalize the way we work with their social media channels.
Love it. And so, listen, like we said, this is not necessarily exciting and new, but there is, so first off, it is just important, right? You do just need to have this foundational piece in place. But we do, and for whatever reason, we're one of the only, legal marketing firms that I'm aware of that even really does this. We do have a sort of secret weapon that I think makes social media a lot more valuable. And this, if you have one takeaway from this, I want it to be you need an email newsletter. But I want your second takeaway to be you need to have social retargeting happening. Social retargeting is the best return on investment you can get in terms of paid advertising. Real quick, give me a yes or a no. Are you doing any level of social retargeting for your law firm right now? And if you don't know what that means, that's fine. I'm about to break it down. But generally speaking, most people I talk to aren't doing this. And this is a takeaway. Again, this is something we can do for you. But either way, like this is really valuable. Here's the idea. Well, let me set it up this way. One of the biggest challenges with social media content and posting on social media is that Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn have all moved towards a pay to play model, right? There was a time where if someone followed your Facebook page or followed you on LinkedIn, they were going to see your content when you posted it, right? Because LinkedIn was going to push content to the people that follow that page. That's not how it works anymore. On average, only about 10% of your followers, actually that might be high. It might be more like 5%. Certainly no more than 10% of your followers on Facebook are going to see your content on average. So if you have 1,000 followers and you post something on Facebook, at best maybe 100 of them are going to see it. I think the real number is more like 5%, okay? Facebook has moved to a pay to play model. Your newsfeed is filled with ads these days. But here's the thing. By boosting a post strategically, you can, for a very small investment, reach a lot more people and not just random people, the right people. The tool is called retargeting, right? Here's basically how it works. Okay, this will supercharge everything you're doing for your marketing. This is really important. So we talked about your email marketing. You've got this email list. Let's just say it's 1,000 people, right? These are 1,000 current clients, past clients, friends, colleagues, referral sources, right? You've got this email list of 1,000 people who have some level of relationship with your firm. Hopefully they like you. Hopefully they want to make referrals to you. At least some percentage of them do, right? So you've got these 1,000 people and they are getting your email once a month, which is awesome. Okay, they've done business with you. There's some level of relationship. The problem is you're reaching them once a month at best. So here's what we're going to do. We take that email list, and by the way, this is all done in a completely encrypted, like it's not a violation of confidentiality or anything like that. And we load that email list into Meta's Business Manager. Meta is going to take that list. Let's say it's 1,000 email addresses. They're going to go one by one by one by one down the list, and they're going to match an email address, each email address, with a Facebook user. So they're going to look at my email address. They're going to say, is there a Facebook user with that email address? If so, they drop them in our audience bucket. On average, there's about a 55% match rate. So if you upload 1,000 emails, on average, you're going to match with a little over 500 of them. Those 500 people go in your retargeting audience. And I'll talk to you about what we do with that in just a second. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a pixel on your website. Pixel is a little code that just allows us to tag every single person that gets to your website, no matter how they got to your website. Maybe they met you out networking. Maybe they got your business card. No matter how they get to your website, we're going to tag them. And what that means is every time they hop on to Facebook, we now have the opportunity to show them your content. Okay, so we've got this bucket, which is people that are on your email list, people that have been to your website. And now when we boost your content, instead of just going to random strangers, Mary Beth, I know it's super confusing. Instead of just random strangers, we get to boost this content to those people. Okay, that is super, super powerful. For like a small ad spend, like $100 a month, we'll often see 2,000, 2,500 impressions from your boosted content, but it's not random strangers. It is the exact people you need to put your content in front of. These are your referral sources, former clients, past clients, all of that. This creates something that in the marketing world we call cross-channel exposure, right? They're seeing your content every time they're on Facebook. They're seeing your content on LinkedIn. They're getting your email newsletter. This is how you create real, powerful brand awareness, top of mind awareness, and supercharge your referrals. It's also a great way. We talked in the beginning about nurturing leads being super, super important. This is one of the best ways to nurture leads. So, for all of you that aren't doing social retargeting, like this is really important. If you're already working with a marketing person, ask them to set it up. If you want us to set it up, book a call. We would be happy to do it. This is a truly a secret weapon that is absolutely going to supercharge your marketing, and it's just not expensive. All right. Want to leave you with a couple sort of final takeaways. I know it's 2 o'clock. I can't remember if we scheduled this for 60 or 75 minutes or whatever. But for any of you that do have to hop, that's fine. You'll get a replay. But I want to leave you with this. Okay. We have a couple sort of final thoughts, and Dylan, I want you to weigh in on this as well. The biggest thing, guys, this wasn't sexy. Most of this, maybe the retargeting is something you haven't thought about, but most of this, probably things you've heard before. Okay. The truth is, this stuff works. This stuff works if you are consistent about executing it. It doesn't work to send a newsletter once and then forget about it for 4 months. It doesn't work to create a Facebook page, post once and then never post again. You have to be consistent. If you are consistent about this stuff, it works. You don't need more than what I just outlined here to grow your law firm to that $1 million threshold. Dylan, I'm going to turn the second one over to you because I know it's something you're passionate about, which is just this idea of like bright shiny objects distracting people from the fundamentals.
Yeah, it's so easy to see some new trending thing that people are talking about, and especially when you see it a couple times and think that's my answer. That's the solution to all my problems that I haven't figured out. Especially when you're someone that has done a lot of problem solving and haven't figured it out. The if you're obviously the main focus of this entire conversation was about how smaller law firms can do better with their marketing and get more bang for their buck out of their marketing. As a small law firm, you can't afford that risk necessarily of the bright shiny object not working. You can't afford that. Hey, I saw on, 5 different channels all of a sudden I saw this new marketing trend that people are doing, and now I'm going to try it out. A big firm can afford for that not to work out. They can say, all right, well, we missed the boat on this one. We can just shift our focus. We have extra money to spend. We can spend a little extra here in this area. As a smaller firm, you probably don't have that budget and even that time to put into being like, oh crap, that shiny object that we followed didn't lead anywhere, and all of a sudden we're back at square one. Well, you might be a couple $1,000s in the hole that you can't afford to lose. But at the same time, too, you don't know if that shiny object is actually doing anything for anyone. From our perspective, we all the time we're seeing different trends in the marketing space, and we're vetting those, and we're talking as a leadership team in our smaller departments, talking about, does this make sense for us? A lot of times that answer is no. I can assure you, if there's a marketing trend that applies to our audience, we've heard of it and we've vetted it, and then some of those things become new services. Some of those things reshape the way we deliver the services we already have. But we're not the type that, like, every single time something rolls out, we're flying high and we're doing, all these crazy webinars and selling all this crazy stuff. We will vet it for you, but on your own in the real world, outside of the work you may or may not be doing with us, just make sure you're very cognizant of the way the bright shiny object can actually end up crippling
Yeah.
your marketing budget.
You gotta stick with the fundamentals. Like
Yeah.
like the stuff we just outlined just
Mhm.
works. And if you've got time and budget to experiment, cool. But most of the time for smaller firms, like Dylan said, you don't. And so chasing something else means you drop some of the balls that are really important. And so
Yep.
super important. Third thing is, and Dylan, I'll let you speak on this one too, but is the idea that like with relatively limited marketing resources, you've got to be really clear on who your ideal clients are that you want to attract and focus on them. Don't cast a wide net. Dylan, do you want to elaborate on that? I know that's something you talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. A lot of bigger firms that they can take in anyone. They don't really care too much who's coming through the door because they have maybe a junior paralegal that's like, most of the work of that client that's a little difficult and annoying can just go to them and we don't have to worry about it. Or, hey, this is a really complex case that needs personal attention. We've got the staff to do that. For as smaller firms, you obviously want to get more of your ideal clients in the door, and not just cast a wide net of like, whoever comes in kind of thing. Obviously, in some cases, it might just be like, well, whoever comes in the personal injury space, as long as they have a case and it's a winnable case for us, sure, bring them in. That can be almost anyone. But for some certain practice areas in the legal space, if you cast too wide of a net and then all of a sudden you have spent, most of your time in the last few weeks focusing on someone who's not quite your ideal client, someone who's a little difficult, might not be as winnable as you want it to be. And then all of a sudden you're going to miss out on all those ideal clients that are also reaching out to you, but maybe you just don't have the capacity or the lead follow up in place to get to them. So the wider net you cast, the more time you're going to have to spend vetting all those people that you're catching in that net and deciding like, is this actually a good catch? Was this a good effort for us? Or am I
Which
spending
is
more time weeding out the bad guy?
which is one of the reasons why like ads lots of times don't make a ton of sense at this state, right?
Mhm.
Because it just takes resources to do that vetting process that Dylan just talked through. And the truth is, at your current stage of growth, you don't need that to grow to $1 million. So I love that, Dylan. And I'll say this too. You know, once you get to the point when you are ready to scale, it's great if you have intake systems that are kind of in place already, right? So that like the way you learn that your intake isn't up to par is not by spending $5,000 on ads and realizing it, right? It's better to build it before you need it. And so, like I said, there's really three components. There's the team, right? You need to have somebody on your team who is priority number one every day is following up with leads. You need to have some level of documented process in place, right? And that includes either a CRM or spreadsheets or something to keep them organized. And it includes those automations, even if it's just simple email automations, so that when somebody contacts you after hours, there's a link so that they can book a call, book a consultation, come visit your office. You need to have this stuff in place. And last thought, and this is really just kind of summing all of it up. Guys, everything we've talked about here, first off, you really don't need more than this to grow to seven figures. And once you get there and start adding more marketing on, like you still need all of this stuff. Like every single law firm, I just firmly believe needs to have an email newsletter in place. They need to have social media retargeting happening. You should have blog content. You should have video content. So I get where it's not the sexiest, most exciting stuff in the world, but it is just super, super fundamental. So please, even as you grow, even as you see, sexy, exciting, new marketing, things come across your plate, don't lose sight of the fundamentals. I'll wrap up with this, and then any questions, happy to take them. If you want to have a conversation with our team, click the link. We will have a conversation kind of getting to know you, your law firm, your objectives, right? We believe that a marketing plan needs to be built around your budget, your priorities, your objectives. So that's really what a discovery call with our team is about. It's really just asking questions, getting to know you, getting to know your goals, your market, having a conversation about whether it makes sense to work with us. Okay. We will get into how your digital marketing can create referrals and word of mouth recommendations, a lot of what we talked about today. Also, we have not talked about ad campaigns and kind of how we approach ad campaigns. And for bigger law firms, that's a big part of what we do. And if we work with you and help you get to that $1 million threshold, then we would love to roll that into your services. And at the end of the day, just here to answer questions. So, if you're interested in having a conversation, you want to know more about our services, everything from email newsletter, blog, video FAQs, website, and then getting into some of the tools like ads and SEO. We do all of that. But like we've been saying this whole time, we're really focused on the right type of marketing for your firm based on where you are in your growth journey. So click a link, schedule a call if you want to. And with that, I know we're a little bit past 2 o'clock here, but happy to answer any questions. I think I kind of got to most of them as we go here, but we'll hang out for another minute or two. If you've got questions, drop them. Dylan, any final thoughts on your end?
No, I just really love the messaging and I want to repeat how important it is. Like what we're talking about here with the blog, the newsletter, the video, the social media, those are building blocks. At every stage of marketing that we do with our clients, we have that base. And not every client has a blog, not every client has social media, but they all have some elements of those that we use in their marketing. And we keep that as they grow. We grow with our clients. We have clients that they'll move up packages as they go. They'll say, hey, I would like to do a little bit more because now I've grown my intake team and now I can do some more ads. I can up my ad spend. But all of those building blocks are still they're still important no matter what stage you're at. It's just an incredible starting point, especially for small firms that are trying to kind of find their footing and figure out what works. All of this is really the foundation of everything you're going to do in marketing, and it works well with everything else. I mean, you can tie this stuff into other marketing you're doing. And we have clients that are working with other marketing agencies doing some other things that maybe we don't offer. You know, we don't offer billboards. It was funny. I drove to Atlanta this weekend. Unfortunately, as a Bills fan, I drove to Atlanta to watch them lose to the Falcons. But I drove to Atlanta and I noticed there are a ton of legal billboards between here and there, especially as you get into the Atlanta area. We don't do that, but we don't tell our clients don't do that. We just might tell them to look elsewhere for getting that placement. But all of that, all of what we do works well with any type of marketing that you're doing as well, with other agencies.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that and I will let you guys run after this, but it's uh it's almost like when we talk about fundamentals and building a foundation that sets you up. Dylan and I are both football fans, and so hopefully a few of you on here follow football, and maybe this will make a little sense. It's like what we're talking about here is like the offensive line and the defensive line, right? It is boring. It's not sexy, but like if you don't have a strong offensive line, strong defensive line. Like it doesn't matter how many superstars you have at wide receiver, running back, quarterback. If you can't protect, um, you can't win the game. And you see it with most teams that win the Super Bowl. It's because they've got a great offensive line and a defensive line, and they keep that focus. And so what we talked about today is your offensive line. Okay, it is the boring basics that just have to be there. So with that, thank you guys so much for being here. I know several of you asked for a replay. We will get that sent out. If you don't get a replay and you want one, just feel free to reach out. You've all got our email information. You should have gotten that when you registered. Dylan, as always, thanks for joining us. I know you
Yeah.
have a million things you're working on, so appreciate your time.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me.
everybody else, thanks for being here. I will give you a quick plug. In about a week or 2 weeks, maybe, I think it's towards the end of the month, we're doing a webinar. We have a really special guest. His name is Vance Morris, and he is a former Disney employee who is going to be talking all about how to Disneyfy your law firm client experience and create a really great experience for your clients while they are a part of your law firm. And that obviously dovetails really well with the marketing that we do. So hope you join us for that one. Keep your eyes open. We will send out registration information on that soon. With that, thanks everybody for being here, and have a great day and a great rest of your week.